The day my mom left, the world went quiet. I was just a kid, maybe 10 years old, standing on the porch of our small, weathered house. She knelt down, her eyes glassy with tears she refused to let fall. "Promise me something," she whispered, her voice trembling just a little. "Promise me you'll finish school, no matter what." I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. It was a promise sealed not with words, but with a final, desperate hug. That was the last time I saw her. Life after that was a blur. Dad did his best. He really did. But grief is a heavy blanket, and it smothered the light in our home. It worked 2, sometimes 3 jobs, just to keep food on the table. The bills piled up, each one a stark white reminder of what we were up against. I became a ghost in my own house, a shadow at school. My grades started to slip. It was easier to skip class, to hang out with kids who didn't ask questions, who didn't see the sadness clinging to me like dust. School felt pointless. What was the use of learning algebra when my stomach was empty? One night, I came home late. The house was dark except for the dim glow from the kitchen. Dad was at the table, his head in his hands, surrounded by a sea of overdue notices. He looked up, and I saw a level of exhaustion in his eyes that scared me more than any anger could. He didn't yell. He just said, "Your mother, she would have wanted better for you." That was it. That was the moment her whisper on the porch came rushing back, loud as a thunderclap. "Promise me you'll finish school." That night, something inside me shifted. It wasn't a grand, movie-like transformation. It was a quiet, stubborn resolve. I started small. I went to school the next day. And the day after that, I sat in the back, head down, but I listened. I started asking my teachers for help after class. Mrs. Davison, my English teacher, gave me books to read. She saw something in me I hadn't seen in myself for a long time. She told me my words had power. It was a fight. Every single day. I got a part-time job washing dishes at a local diner, the smell of grease and bleach sticking to me long after my shift ended. I'd come home, bone-tired, and force myself to open my textbooks. Many nights, I'd study by the light of a single lamp, my dad asleep in his armchair, the TV flickering silently. There were times I wanted to quit, to just give up and let the current pull me under. But then I'd see her face, hear her voice, and the promise would burn in my chest, a fire that wouldn't go out. The other kids didn't get it. They'd make fun of my worn-out shoes, or the fact I never had money to hang out. Their taunts were like tiny paper cuts. But I learned to ignore them. My world had narrowed down to 3 things: work, school, and that promise. Slowly, my grades began to climb. A C became a B. A B turned into an A. I discovered a love for history, for the stories of people who had overcome impossible odds. Their struggles felt familiar. Their triumphs gave me hope. The day of my high school graduation was surreal. I walked across that stage, the diploma feeling impossibly heavy in my hand. I looked out at the crowd and found my dad. He wasn't crying, but his smile, it was the brightest thing I'd ever seen. It was a smile that said, "You did it." When I got back to my seat, I closed my eyes, and in the quiet of my mind, I whispered, "I did it. Mom, I kept my promise." But the promise hadn't just been about a diploma. I realized it was about not giving up on myself. It was about building a future she would be proud of. College seemed like an impossible dream. We had no money for that. But Mrs. Davison hadn't given up on me. She helped me apply for every scholarship I could find. I wrote essays about my life, about my promise, pouring everything I had onto the page. I wrote about washing dishes and dreaming of a different life. The acceptance letters started to arrive. Small colleges at first, then bigger ones, and then the big one. An envelope from a university I'd only dreamed of attending. I opened it with shaking hands. Not only had I been accepted, but they had offered me a full scholarship. I remember sinking to the floor, the letter clutched in my hand, and for the first time in a long time, I cried. Not tears of sadness, but tears of pure, overwhelming relief. College was a different world. I was surrounded by kids who came from money, from stable homes. At first, I felt like an imposter, like I didn't belong. But then I remembered the long nights, the grease-stained hands, the quiet resolve. I had fought for my place here. I deserved to be here. I threw myself into my studies, my passion for history now a blazing fire. I joined study groups, I made friends, I even started a small tutoring service to help other students who were struggling. Years passed. The boy who stood on that porch, lost and afraid, was gone. In his place stood a man, a college graduate, a history teacher. Today, I stand in front of my own classroom. I look at my students, at the mix of hope and uncertainty in their eyes. Some of them remind me of myself at their age. I see the quiet ones in the back, the ones who think no one notices them. And I make it a point to notice them. I tell them stories, not just from history books, but from life. I tell them that their circumstances don't define their destiny. I tell them that a promise, even one whispered on a porch years ago, can be the most powerful anchor in a storm. I don't often talk about my mom in detail, but her lesson is woven into everything I teach. The lesson of resilience, of hope, and of keeping your word, especially to yourself. Every now and then, I drive past my old house. It looks different now. A new family lives there, but I can still see us. A 10-year-old boy and his mother, locked in a hug that had to last a lifetime. And I smile, because the promise was kept. The journey was long, and it was hard, but it led me right here. And for that, I'm endlessly grateful. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever faced a struggle, remember that you have a strength inside you that you might not even recognize yet. Keep going. And please, don't forget to follow for more stories like this one.